With these thoughts in mind, Emily, who had just left the Emily family, felt a bit more cheerful. Instead of parking the car at the entrance, she parked across the street. The first thing she did when she got in the car was to take out a tissue and wipe away her tears. Emily wondered, does her father really miss her? It had been 6 years, and he had never looked for her, right? If this was the extent of their father-daughter relationship, then the affection between them was too lackluster. A tinge of sadness flashed through her heart. She leaned on the steering wheel for a while and let out a barely audible sigh before starting the sports car and heading towards Nathan's Linksy villa. On the way, Emily made a detour to buy some medicinal ingredients. Carrying a medium-sized plastic bag, she arrived at the Linksy villa. As soon as she set foot on the main house's steps, her ears were caught by a delicate voice.
Nathan, did you miss me during the 2 years I was in France?
The voice was delicate enough to squeeze out water. Emily involuntarily tightened her grip on the bag. As she entered the house, her eyes immediately locked onto the woman next to Nathan. With arched eyebrows, sparkling eyes, a slightly upturned nose, and cherry-like lips, the woman had long black hair, naturally cascading over her shoulders. She wore a pure, white lace dress with subdued floral patterns, without any excessive accessories, except for a necklace with a ruby pendant hanging from her neck, adding a lively touch of color to her overall appearance. This woman looked clean and elegant, with a faint smile on her face. When Emily came in, the woman's smile momentarily turned into surprise. Nathan glanced at Emily, following her gaze, and calmly said,
"She's my new private doctor."
A doctor?
The woman murmured, her gaze falling on the bag in Emily's hands, then shifting to Nathan with some concern.
Are you sick?
You know, I haven't been sleeping well lately. She's helping with the adjustment.
Emily was stunned for a moment, then relieved. It made sense. How could he bring up such a condition to a beautiful woman? Judging from the tone of their conversation, was this woman his girlfriend? She self-deprecatingly thought that it was despicable of her to impose herself on someone else when she had that condition. With a hint of contempt in her heart, Emily pursed her lips and put on a smile.
Mr. Nathan, I've already bought the medicine. I'll be on my way now, so as not to disturb you.
Nathan merely nodded without saying a word. Emily didn't want to listen to their gossip either. She lowered her head, turned, and went to the guest room that Nathan had prepared for her. In the living room, Nathan looked at the woman next to him, his fair complexion displaying a touch of warmth.
Emma, do you not intend to leave this time?
Emma smiled and replied,
Of course not. I have finished my design course. There's no need to go back. Besides...
She paused for a moment, her smile becoming even gentler.
Nathan, we should get married.
Married?
Nathan slightly furrowed his brows. Seeing his expression, Emma's face momentarily stiffened, and a few seconds later, she softly spoke with lowered eyelashes.
Yes. My parents have been urging me, and Auntie called recently asking if I had come back, saying that when I do, we should take care of our matters. Nathan, I'm not young anymore, and I don't want to wait.
After speaking, Emma lifted one small hand and gently placed it on Nathan's large hand, resting naturally on the sofa. The warmth in her palm made Nathan's brows deepen slightly. After a brief silence, he turned his head and glanced in the direction of the guest room. When his gaze returned, his expression had relaxed somewhat.
All right, after I'm done with this busy period, let's seriously consider our future.
After entering the room, Emily threw the medicine in her hand to the side and collapsed onto the bed. After all the commotion, she was tired. Closing her eyes, she lay for a while and felt drowsy. Without even changing her clothes, she rolled over, grabbed a pillow, and fell asleep. In her daze, she felt someone poking the back of her head. She quickly woke up because the poking was heavy. She turned around and opened her eyes, only to see Nathan's figure.
What are you doing?
Emily frowned, covering the back of her head, and glared at Nathan unhappily.
Get up. I have something to tell you.
Nathan glanced disdainfully at the milky white pillow corner, his tone full of contempt. The bottom right corner of the pillow was wet, probably from this woman's saliva. Sleeping in such a manner was unattractive. Emily sat up, threw the pillow aside, and still frowned, slightly impatient.
Tell me, what's the matter?
What do you want to ask me?
Nathan suddenly asked back, his handsome face darkening, getting the feeling that a storm was coming. Irritated, Emily scratched her hair with her hand.
Your illness. Didn't I promise to start treating it immediately? I need some time to prepare, right?
I'll give you half a month. If you can't cure it, it'll cost your life.
Her eyes widened instantly. She turned her body, and her neck straightened. She shouted at Nathan.
Mr. Nathan, you need to understand that your illness is chronic. Even if my medical skills are outstanding, it won't heal in a day or two. Pressuring me like this won't help. Besides, the more you rush me, the slower the treatment might be.
Feeling dissatisfied, she deliberately pursed her lips, looking at Nathan with a defiant stance of if you have the guts, bite me. Initially, the man being stared at didn't react, his face showing no indication of having heard what she said. However, suddenly, this man's hand inexplicably reached out and firmly gripped her delicate neck. Nathan, holding her by the neck, lifted her up.
Half a month. Deduct $1 million in consultation fees for each additional day.
Okay.
Hands on her neck loosened and fresh air slid into Emily's throat, causing her to cough. Finally recovering her senses, she glared fiercely at Nathan.
Even if you're eager to have sex with a beauty, you don't have to be so ruthless, right? You know, haste makes waste.
Being exposed like this by a woman is definitely a great humiliation for a man, especially since this woman has already intentionally or unintentionally ridiculed him for not being able. In an instant, Nathan's face turned cold and a glint of hostility flashed in his eyes. He bent slightly, his handsome face close to Emily's face. His gaze resembled that of a night wolf, with a hint of ruthlessness.
I'm not in a rush to sleep with a woman. I can wait. However, if I can't control my desires, then you'll be in trouble.
What does it have to do with me?
The man's appearance was intimidating, and Emily felt a little frightened. Nathan smiled with a slight hook to his lips, his already handsome face suddenly exuding a sinister aura.
If the treatment drags on, I'm afraid I'll develop other hobbies.
Other hobbies. Scenes from the movie 50 Shades of Grey flashed through Emily's mind, one after another. After a long time, she dryly grinned.
Well, it might not necessarily be me. Hey, for these kinds of things, it's better to find professionals. My skills are not up to par.
Is it so?
Nathan murmured softly. A glimmer of meaning unclear to Emily suddenly sparkled in his eyes. Before Emily could fully decipher the meaning behind that glimmer, he bent down and pressed her against the soft, seductive bed. Before she could react, she heard a slight sound of metal clashing. Immediately after, Nathan's right arm raised, and he had a dark brown belt in his hand.
What are you planning to do?
Emily widened her eyes in shock, her voice trembling slightly. Although she was frightened, she wasn't foolish enough to let herself be at his mercy. After shouting, she raised her hand and kicked her legs, struggling hard. However, even though she had great fighting strength, she couldn't match Nathan in physical ability. The man's long and sturdy legs pinned down her legs tightly, and one large hand firmly gripped her flailing wrist. This whole series of actions took only 2 seconds. Then he wrapped the belt around her wrists. Tying them together, he squeezed the buckle tightly and pulled back, forcing her hands against the headboard. With a loud thud, Emily's hand was knocked painfully.
Nathan, are you crazy?
Unable to bear IT any longer, she cursed out loud. Nathan smirked, showing his devilish smile.
You're just realizing I'm crazy.
Let me go. Do you still want me to cure you or not?
Emily seethed with anger, her face turning bright red. She really regretted not using poison to kill this jerk outright. Nathan tightened his grip on the belt, making it even tighter. After a few seconds, he slightly narrowed his black eyes and coldly stared at Emily's face.
I've already said it. It's fine if you can't cure me. From now on, we can play like this every day.
I'm not someone you can do this to. What gives you the right?
Emily growled in frustration. Nathan, however, chuckled, his handsome face suddenly pressing down, his cool nose touching Emily's already reddened nose.
This kind of thing shouldn't be talked about in public and let everyone know. So if you can't cure me, you only have 2 choices. Either become my sex slave, or I kill you to keep the secret. You choose.
She shivered. It was a genuine shiver. She didn't speak, spending a full 5 minutes studying and deciphering Nathan's expression. Finally, she came to a conclusion. Whether it was being a sex slave or being killed, this guy wasn't just saying it casually. In her mind, she recalled the information she had found online about Nathan a few days ago. He was the second son of the city's top wealthy family. The Nathan family's business covered almost every field, and it was much larger than the combined Eve family and Lou family. Rumors online said that Nathan had a weird personality, acted eccentrically, and was a headache for both the light and dark sides of society. So, she really shouldn't have provoked such a person. After analyzing all the information, Emily felt deflated. She took a deep breath, adjusted her composure, and lifted the corners of her cherry pink lips into a sincere smile.
It's all a misunderstanding. Mr. Nathan, please let me go. I promise I can cure you. 15 days, right? It doesn't need to be that long. 10 days is enough. I won't charge any additional fees. Do you think I'm sincere enough?
Her lips parted, and 2 small tiger teeth resembling white jade emerged, along with a slight dimple on her right cheek. She wasn't dead gorgeous, but she had a certain cuteness to her. Nathan sneered, his gaze shifting, and suddenly lowered his head to capture Emily's cherry lips.
Remember what you said. Let me give you a stamp first so you remember it well.
As he finished speaking, his teeth suddenly bit down on Emily's lips with a Snathan force, causing her intense pain. In her heart, she cried and cursed him and his ancestors for 18 generations. Until a trace of bloody taste lingered between their teeth, Nathan loosened his grip on Emily. The bloodstains on Emily's lips also stained Nathan's lips, adding a touch of vibrant red, making his thin and attractive lips appear even more seductive. Emily had no interest in admiring the sight of this handsome man before her. After touching her bitten lip with her hand, she immediately snarled at Nathan like an angry little beast.
Nathan, do you understand the concept of respect? Forget that I'm your hired doctor. Even if I were just any woman, you should never do this, right? This is harassment. It's assault. Do you understand? I can sue you for this. And by the way, this is also personal attack.
She angrily extended her hand towards Nathan, her slender and pale index finger stained with the blood from her lip. Nathan's clear gaze fell on that hint of vibrant red, and with a cold and mocking tone, he lightly snorted before bending down abruptly, just as he did before.
You accuse me of assault, and if I don't do something, it seems like I'm not being fair to those 2 words. Don't you think?
I won't sue. The door is behind you. No need to escort me.
Emily pushed away the enticing face in front of her and pointed towards the door. Nathan lazily straightened his body, hands inserted in his pockets. With a sinful yet elegant tilt of his head, he raised an eyebrow and looked past Emily.
Go and wash the pillowcase.
His words seemed a bit random, and she couldn't quite keep up. As she turned to look at the slightly damp pillow, she furrowed her brows tightly. Before she could complain, Nathan's cold and deep voice rang in her ears again.
I don't like dirty things in the house.
It was on my bed. Just some saliva.
Nathan's clear and serene gaze shifted back, and when it landed on Emily's flushed cheeks, a touch of sarcasm appeared.
Firstly, this is my house, and everything here belongs to me. Secondly, saliva is dirty. Lastly, since you live here, you have to unconditionally abide by my habits.
The man raised his chin slightly, his handsome and cold face adorned with a pair of deep and bright eyes. shining like cold stars, exuding an air of nobility and arrogance. Emily stared at Nathan for a long while. She distilled a central idea from his firstly, secondly, and lastly. I am the master. You have to listen to me.
What if I don't?
She lifted her chin defiantly, her gaze unwavering.
It's simple.
Nathan answered bluntly.
First, throw away the pillow. It's dirty. Second, whenever you sleep, I will put duct tape on your mouth to prevent you from dirtying my bed again. Third, I will personally teach you my habit.
Having addressed his first, second, and last, Nathan's response left Emily with a resounding feeling of, I give up. Staring at him for a few seconds in a standoff, she rolled off the bed, grabbed a pillow, and begrudgingly stormed towards the door, fuming with anger. As she was about to open the door, her furry head turned towards Nathan, her big, shiny eyes sparkling, and she asked earnestly,
Nathan, do you have OCT or something? Honestly, as a doctor, I won't judge you.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
The words rolled lightly off Nathan's lips, and he walked towards Emily, standing in front of her, staring down at her with lowered brows, and smiled.
I not only have obsessive compulsive disorder, but also manic episodes, just like this.
As his voice suddenly stopped, Emily felt a sudden darkness before her eyes. The jerk. He bit her lip again. Damn it, does his manic episode involve biting people? That's more like rabies than manic episodes. Fortunately, this time Nathan didn't bite too hard, and didn't make her see blood again. After biting, the man remained composed, elegantly using one hand to effortlessly pull her to the side. When they were leaving, Emily even heard the man happily whistling. His demeanor made it seem like bullying her was the most enjoyable thing in the world. Emily angrily stared at Nathan's retreating figure, then raised her hand to touch her tingling and painful lips. She sadly discovered that the right corner of her lip was already swollen.
Damn, Nathan.
She cursed through clenched teeth before tightly gripping the cushion and running downstairs. After confirming with the maid and tossing the cushion into the washing machine, Emily was about to go upstairs to continue sleeping when she stumbled upon a peculiar sight. Nathan, he was actually making a cake in the kitchen. When Emily's peripheral vision caught sight of the scene, she thought there was something wrong with her visual nerves. She turned around and ran over to stand by the door, watching for quite some time to make sure that it was indeed real. On the shining marble countertop, there was a basin, a carton of milk, a carton of eggs, and near the wall, an automatic egg beater was placed, whisking the creamy white cream. Nathan took off his jacket, leaving only a white shirt with his sleeves rolled up to his forearms. The silver diamond cufflinks on his sleeves emitted shimmering cold light with his movements. Leaning against the door, Emily's throat tightened and she swallowed hard. It wasn't the temptation of the food that captivated her, but rather the allure of Nathan's masculine presence. Nathan's silhouette exuded an air of nobility and elegance. His sleek black hair had a dazzling shine under the lights, and his broad shoulders tapered down to a slim waist. His long legs were straight and lean. The usual aura of aloofness had faded, and his entire body basked in warm light cast by the ceiling lamp. Indeed, men in the kitchen can be very sexy. Emily found herself deeply captivated by Nathan's presence. Acting on impulse, she walked over, her gaze slowly moving up from the ingredients on the counter until it settled on Nathan's face. Nathan was incredibly focused. Not just focused, but his expression was calm and serene. It was as if he wasn't just cooking, but rather, he was enjoying a wonderful process. He was stirring the egg yolks and flour together, holding the chopsticks between his fingertips. His movements were slow, languid, and delicate. Emily's gaze remained fixated on that hand, feeling her throat tighten once again. His hand was fair and his fingers were slender, with well-defined knuckles. The 5 nails were neatly trimmed, reflecting a soft glow, making them exceptionally beautiful. As Emily continued to stare, her gaze gradually moved up to the man's face. His profile was flawless, with skin that was fair compared to most men. It had a delicate texture, unlike the roughness often seen in others. His eyebrows were slightly arched, giving off a hint of boldness. His nose was straight and well-defined. His thin crimson lips were naturally pursed at the moment, forming a gracefully curved line. No wonder, Nico. That little rascal is so adorable. It must be because of these strong genes. I must say, I was truly wise and courageous back then, overcoming difficulties to give birth to that precious child. Such amazing genes will be hard to find in the future. Feeling a sense of self-satisfaction, Emily couldn't help but let a slight smile grace her lips, still tingling from the recent bite by someone. She had been staring for quite a while, and Nathan had been ignoring her the whole time. It wasn't until she was about to let out a satisfied laugh that he slowly set down the perfectly mixed pale yellow batter and turned his face towards her. His gaze lingered on Emily's face for a brief moment, causing the curve of Nathan's lips to deepen. He let out a soft, gentle laugh, emitting a cool and serene aura, reminiscent of a lotus flower.
Miss Emily, please control your drooling. I spent $10 million to hire you for medical treatment, not to have you fawning over me.
Emily's heart. Shaved eyes shattered in an instant. Her embarrassed gaze lowered, and her cheeks flushed uncontrollably. With an unsteady breath, even her tongue trembled slightly.
Oh no, it's not like that. Why would I be infatuated with you? I was just admiring the cake, that's all.
After speaking, Emily felt like biting her tongue off. The cake wasn't even finished yet, so why mention it? Clearly, it was a sign of guilt. Luckily, Nathan probably didn't want to see her for even a second. Upon hearing this, Nathan didn't continue with the mockery. Instead, a slight smile disappeared from his eyes, and in a cold tone, he uttered just 2 words.
Go out.
Just leave then? What's the big deal?
Emily pouted her pink lips and mumbled under her breath before turning on her heel and walking away. Even though she left decisively, she couldn't help but keep thinking about the cake Nathan made. She couldn't help it. She had a sweet tooth, and she especially loved all kinds of cakes. While it may seem a bit strange for someone like Nathan to stay at home and bake cakes, it doesn't really matter as long as the cakes he makes are not weird. So, after tinkering in the lab for 2 hours, she took off her lab coat, washed her hands, and came out. It turned out that she had timed it just right. On the dining table, a perfectly placed 6-inch fruitcake sat in front of Nathan, and to her surprise, it was even shaped like a heart. With no time to mock Nathan's girlishness, Emily grinned and rushed over to it.
Wow, this is amazing. Nathan, your skills are almost on par with professional pastry chefs. Let me taste it first.
Unable to wait any longer or bother to get a serving plate from the kitchen, she grabbed the cake fork that Nathan had just held in his hand. With a swift and precise movement, she picked the most prominent pink buttercream flower on the cake. Nathan's gaze shifted from his empty fingertips to Emily's luscious cherry-like lips, and his expression stayed frozen for a while. Before he could snap out of it, those plump lips went click twice.
The taste is good, just a bit too sweet. Nathan, be careful with consuming too much sugar. It can lead to diabetes.
Nathan, unable to tolerate it any longer, he raised his long arm and snatched the fork from Emily's hand, glaring at her with cold and icy eyes.
Did I invite you to eat this? Get lost?
Why are you telling me to get lost? You made so much anyways, and I'm sure there's plenty left. Don't be so stingy, especially as a grown man.
Emily's eyebrows curved, and the corners of her lips, touched with a bit of pink cream, lifted deeply, creating a dazzling and radiant smile.
Get lost.
With a disdainful glance, Nathan couldn't be bothered to look at the woman any longer. He lowered his head and gave a disgusted look at the fork that Emily had used and the cake that she had taken a bite from. Being a neat freak as he was, this cake was now wasted in his eyes. Emily did roll her eyes, but she didn't leave. Instead, she rolled into the kitchen, grabbed a serving plate, and casually dragged a chair to sit next to Nathan.
In order to prevent you from getting diabetes, I'll help you finish half of it. No need to thank me. I've always enjoyed helping others like this.
She deliberately took a large plate and effortlessly sliced the cake in half, right in front of Nathan's eyes, then placed the portion on the plate with a twist of the fork.
It may be a bit sweet, but the taste is still good.
As she tasted the cake, she muttered to herself. When Ethan walked in and saw the scene, he instantly froze like a wooden statue.
What's going on? Is the boss now sharing his cake with others? Oh my goodness, this is truly a sight to behold. Miss Emily, you are the first person to eat the boss's cake and not be thrown out like garbage. Truly a talent.
While Ethan admired her in his heart, Emily remained completely oblivious to the situation. She focused on eating the cake, occasionally offering professional comments. When she had eaten almost half of the cake on the plate, she finally noticed Ethan standing there like a statue. Sensing his presence, she smartly picked up the plate and stood up with a knowing smile.
You guys go ahead and talk. I'll go eat in my room. Oh, by the way, can you make it an 8-inch one next time? This one is too small. Thank you.
With a graceful twist of her waist, Miss Emily elegantly walked away. In the restaurant, only a stunned Nathan and a terrified Ethan remained, still unable to regain their composure. After leaving a mark on Nathan's lips with a forceful kiss and taking his private cake, Emily's demeanor as a doctor became much lower. She even gave up the idea of giving Nathan a hard time before treating him. She wholeheartedly focused on addressing his hidden ailments. Her original purpose for this trip was to make money, and getting involved in unnecessary trouble wouldn't be profitable. Besides, this man was indeed not someone to be trifled with. It would be better for her to treat him quickly and leave as soon as possible, avoid additional trouble. If he were to find out about Nico's matters, it could cause major trouble. With that in mind, Emily became more dedicated. Aside from going out to buy medicinal ingredients, she spent almost the entire day in the laboratory. After being busy for a few days, not even reaching 10 days, Emily handed over the prepared medicine to Nathan.
This oral medication and topical spray should show effects within 2 weeks, and complete recovery is expected within a month. No need to thank me. Just give me the remaining money, and we'll call it even.
Emily raised her chin slightly and placed 2 seemingly ordinary bottles on Nathan's desk, speaking in a confident tone. Nathan lowered his brows and glanced at the 2 brown bottles before picking up one and examining it.
How can I trust you?
After furrowing her brow and thinking for a moment, Emily responded somewhat begrudgingly.
All right, how about this? I will give you a 2-week grace period to pay. If you see results by then, you can settle the payment. But remember, do not go back on your word and don't even think about harming me or trying to silence me, because I have taken precautions.
Nathan smiled and a hint of interest finally appeared on his usually impassive face.
How did you take precautions against me?
It's quite simple, really. I have set up a scheduled email in my inbox. The timing of this email can be easily modified. In case something unexpected happens to me, that email will be sent to recipients worldwide. At that time, your actions and intentions to harm me will be exposed to the public. Mr. Nathan, you won't have such a glamorous time then.
The woman's pink lips kept moving, and as she spoke, her clear eyes shimmered with excitement. The expression of triumphant satisfaction on her face was both foolish and adorable. Nathan held the bottle tightly in his palm, pursing his lips slightly.
So you're saying that I shouldn't dare to let you die?
Of course.
You better pray to the heavens that I live a long and healthy life, and that nothing goes wrong.
Makes sense. All right then, let's stick to a half month as the deadline.
Okay.
Emily happily snapped her fingers.
All right then, I'm leaving. Mr. Nathan, I wish you to regain your happiness soon. Goodbye.
As she turned around, her smiling face disappeared from his sight, leaving him with a cheerful silhouette. After Emily left, Nathan unfolded his palm and looked at the bottle in his hand. After a while, he set down the bottle and opened the folder on his computer. With a swift glance, he clicked on a file. Emily. She was the first one to dare speak to him like that, and she used just 2 bottles to take away 10 million from him. Woman, you are dreaming too beautifully. Emily on the screen was still smiling, as if she had a fondness for laughter. When she smiled, her 2 mischievous little tiger teeth would be revealed, sharp-tongued and sharp-witted. It wouldn't be long before those 2 sharp teeth of yours would be pulled out. Nathan stared at the Emily on the computer screen with narrowed, sinister eyes. After Emily moved out of Nathan's villa with his suitcase, she went to find Olivia. Olivia is her best friend, and the only friend she has been in contact with for the past 6 years, returning to her hometown. After finishing Nathan's affairs, she naturally wanted to meet Olivia first. It was a weekday, and Olivia was still at work, so they agreed to meet at a coffee shop near Olivia's workplace. Anxiously wanting to see her best friend, Olivia took the day off and arrived at the coffee shop earlier than Emily. As soon as Olivia saw Emily coming with his suitcase, she stood up and ran over to embrace him tightly.
You jerk! You've been back for days, and only now you remember to find me!
While reprimanding Emily, Olivia looked him up and down, and when she noticed the suitcase, she immediately exclaimed,
You don't have a place to stay yet. Why not take a rest at my place for a while? It's a rented place, not big, but enough for 2 people to live comfortably. Oh, by the way, where's my godson? You didn't bring him back with you.
Olivia looked behind Emily with her big eyes, and only then did Emily have a chance to speak, and chuckled.
Don't look around. He's not here yet. Let's sit down first. I'm exhausted.
Hearing this, Olivia finally released her grip on him, but not before reminding him why he hadn't brought Nico for her to see. Once they were seated, Olivia took control of the conversation. It became Olivia's home ground and Emily's away game. Olivia had a lot of questions, firing them one by one, and Emden answered each of them. As he shared his recent experiences, Emden left no stone unturned with his loyal best friend. He even spoke about the affairs of the I family, but he held back a bit when it came to Nathan's matters. Patient confidentiality is crucial, which falls under the realm of medical ethics. Ethan understood the importance of respecting privacy. After chatting for almost an hour and finishing their respective cups of coffee, they had covered the highlights of their lives over the past few years. They sat for a little while longer, but as they noticed it was getting late, Emden spoke up.
All right, now that I'm back and we'll have more opportunity to meet in the future, you go back to work and I'll head home.
Go home. Robert's home.
Olivia was taken aback. Furrowing her brow as she looked at Emily, Emily stood up and patted the box beside him, grumbling under his breath.
Of course, there are still some accounts to settle with them. Living together makes it easier to uncover what happened back then.
Olivia knew that Em was referring to the cause of her mother's death, so she stopped trying to persuade him after thinking for a while, and simply said,
All right then, you go back first. If there's anything, find me later.
Thank you, Olivia.
With a sincere smile, Em was about to pick up the box and leave his seat when a figure suddenly and unexpectedly intruded into his field of vision. After 6 years apart, that person had become even more charming and dashing. The deep gray suit he wore accentuated his tall and impressive figure, exuding an aura of excellence. At this moment, he was smiling with pursed lips, a hint of charm on the corner of his mouth, and his eyes shimmered with a captivating radiance. It wasn't really a big deal to see this person after all. The world is small, and it's normal to encounter a few acquaintances in the same city. What was unusual was that there was a woman accompanying him. Her arm was hooked around his, and her face was turned towards him, wearing a gentle smile, as if she was happily sharing something with him. Michael. The woman beside him is not Sarah. Looks like things are about to get interesting now. Em quickly sat down, lowered his head, and spoke in a hushed tone to Olivia.
Olivia, Michael just walked in. Bow your head and don't look back.
What a coincidence. After Michael entered with that woman, not only did they not notice the 2 women sitting in the corner booth, but they also chose seats adjacent to them. As soon as the 2 of them took their seats, the woman's sultry voice spoke a sentence that instantly piqued Em's interest.
Dear, when are you going to divorce your yellow-faced wife? I can wait, but my baby can't wait much longer.
Baby? The sensitivity in Emily's nerves prickled as if they had been touched by a needle. Is she pregnant? Sarah couldn't conceive on her own, but if she found out that Michael's lover outside was pregnant, who knows how she would react? Emily's eyebrows curved downwards like two beautiful crescent moons embedded on her elf-like face. After exchanging a glance with Olivia, the two of them slowed down and stopped rushing. Emily held the stainless steel small spoon in her coffee cup, occasionally glancing at the back of Michael's head. Her ears pricked to listen to their conversation.
Baby, it's not that I'm not in a hurry, but this matter can't be rushed. The company is currently in a crucial time, and I still rely on her support. Let's wait a little longer. In any case, I won't let our son be mistreated.
Wait, until when? Your real estate company in Coastal City is also one of the top companies in the industry, even without relying on Sarah. Your position as the leader in the real estate sector is secure. What else do you want? I don't want to think too much. I just want the three of us to be together legitimately as a family.
The woman's urgency and raised voice immediately drew a light reprimand from Michael.
Lower your voice.
What are you afraid of? It would be better for her to know. Then you wouldn't have to feel awkward about bringing it up to her.
Sophia, this is not a matter of being embarrassed or not. Have you ever thought about it? Even though Robert's family is not as wealthy as before, they only have her as their daughter and all those family assets.
Michael didn't continue speaking after realizing the explicit nature of his words. However, Emily understood his implication. All of Robert's family assets belonged to Sarah as long as she remained with Michael. Hearing this, Olivia couldn't help but roll her eyes and give Emily a disdainful look. Emily remained composed and subtly narrowed her eyes before letting out a cold smirk. After a brief moment, she took out her phone, pressed the record button, and handed it to Olivia. Understanding her intention, Olivia held the phone and discreetly placed it on the edge of the table. The two individuals in front continued their conversation, with Michael using persuasive language and ultimately agreeing to buy the jewelry that the other woman had previously set her sights on, in order to silence her. In order to avoid drawing Michael's attention, Emily and Olivia waited until the two of them left before getting up and leaving themselves. The recording capabilities of the phone were not as good as a recording device, resulting in some unclear dialogue. However, it didn't matter for now. Emily hadn't yet decided how to utilize this incidental discovery, so she kept it for future use. After parting ways with Olivia, Emily carried her luggage and headed back to Robert's family estate. She thought she could enter smoothly, but she was surprised to find that Evelyn, who had readily let her in last time, didn't open the door this time.
Miss Emily, please don't blame me. Madam scolded me last time and said that if I let you in again without permission, I won't be allowed in Robert's family anymore. I'm getting old and it's hard for me to find another good place. I'm sorry, Miss Emily.
Evelyn kept her head down, afraid to look at Emily. She tightly gripped her clothes, revealing her discomfort in treating the former young lady this way. Although Emily was angry at Jennifer, she didn't take it out on the servant. After thinking for a moment, she smiled gently.
That's okay. I'll wait here for my father.
The wait had lasted from 4 in the afternoon until 7 in the evening. 3 hours had passed, the night breeze cold, and the villa outside silent and pitch black with only the dim, yellowish glow of streetlights. During this time, Evelyn couldn't bear to see her like this and had brought food and drink to her, even offering her a chair. But she had rejected them all. If she wanted to enter this door, she had to put on a pitiful look. Given the current situation, she was fighting alone. If she wanted to find out the cause of her mother's death, she had to stay in this house. And to stay here legitimately and peacefully, it was most important for her to capture her father Robert's heart. At her age, she was no longer willing to stubbornly oppose them like an 18-year-old. That's why she had stood there for 3 hours today. The November weather, with the night breeze brushing against her face, made her shiver involuntarily in her thin clothing. She had clothes in her suitcase, but Emily didn't take them out. Instead, she crossed her arms and hugged herself, facing the direction of the road, scanning her surroundings. After a while, still feeling cold, she started pacing back and forth in the same spot. Moving around would always bring a little warmth. Emily continued pacing for quite some time, so much so that when Robert's car slowly approached, the first thing he saw through the window was Emily, head lowered and arms tightly wrapped around herself, pacing back and forth to keep warm. 2 beams of light illuminated the ground beneath her, and Emily stopped in her tracks. As the car came to a stop, she quickly adjusted her expression to one of surprise and hurriedly ran over. Robert rolled down the car window, and Emily immediately called out,
Dad.
Robert's sharp eyes glanced at his daughter, noticing that she was only wearing a thin windbreaker, which caused him to furrow his brows.
Why aren't you going inside? What are you doing outside in this cold weather?
Emily glanced at Jennifer, who was sitting beside Robert, lowered her head and muttered,
Evelyn won't let me in.
Robert paused for a moment, then turned his head to look at Jennifer, glaring at her.
Foolishness.
Robert.
Jennifer shot a glance at Emily, then turned to Robert with a gentle and dignified expression.
Evelyn is also getting older, so she's also confused. I asked her to let Emily come back and inform me first so as to avoid any conflicts between Emily and Sarah. Emily is someone I've watched grow up, and Sarah is my own child. They are both dear to me, and it pains me to see them argue, so I thought it would be best to keep them apart for now.
Jennifer, who was nearing 50, didn't just look like a woman in her 30s with her well-maintained appearance, but her voice was also as tender as a young woman's. Even when she spoke, she would add "ma" at the end, giving her words a hint of playfulness. Emily remembered that a long time ago, Robert had praised Jennifer's virtue and kindness to her. It was shortly after Karen had passed away, and Robert had said to her,
Emily, rest assured, Auntie Jennifer will love and care for you just like your mother.
"Behold, she's your good mother. Command the servant not to let her in," and then using her father as an excuse to act all cutesy, despite her advanced age. This was truly her way of loving her. Emily kept her head down, remaining silent. After waiting for a while, she finally heard Robert soften his voice and say to Jennifer,
Keep them apart. Can't sisters still have contact with each other?
After speaking, Robert turned to Emily and said,
Go back home.
Thank you, Dad.
Emily gratefully said, her voice filled with obedience. Robert furrowed his brow in response. Not saying anything further, he simply rolled up the car window and instructed the driver to drive inside. Once they were inside, in front of Robert, Jennifer busied herself with having someone clean up Emily's old room. Robert seemed tired and didn't say much that evening, and the night passed by peacefully. Little did she know, the calmness that night would be shattered the next day.